Hey guys, today you're going to be doing your practice on the Pythagorean Theorem. Remember, this is about the right triangles. And the sides of the triangles are called the legs and the hypotenuse. And the legs, we square them, a squared plus b squared, add them together, and that's going to give me c squared. C squared is the hypotenuse. It is always the longest side. So when we get two legs, we square the numbers, add those together, and find the square root. Now when I give you, this is your problem 1, and again, we're going to do 1 together, and you pause the video and do 2, and then we'll do 3. You pause the video and do 4, okay? So on this one, there's no missing sides. I gave you all 3 sides. So that means that you have to tell me whether or not it is a right triangle. If it's a right triangle, then it's going to fit into the Pythagorean theorem and be a true statement, right? So that's what we're testing. All we're going to do is plug in. Now, I know that the 9 is going to have to be the hypotenuse, the C. A and B, I can swap between 6 and 8. It's not going to matter any. 9 is the biggest number, making it the longest side, making it the hypotenuse. So I'm going to say 6 squared plus 8 squared equals 9 squared. Again, this is a yes or no answer. You got to show me why it's yes or why it's no. 6 squared. 6 times 6 is 36. Come on, pen. 8 squared. 8 times 8 is 64. 9 squared. 9 times 9 is 81. All right, well, 36 plus 64, if I add them together, that equals 100. And 100 does not equal 81. So my answer is no. The sides of the triangle with a 6, 8, and 9 would not make a right triangle. Okay? Now, if I have 3, maybe I had 6, 8, and 10. Again, who is going to be the hypotenuse? The 10. That's going to be my c squared because it is the longest side. So I have 6 squared come on, pen, plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. And this time when I do 36 plus 64, 10 squared is 100. So I'm going to say 100 does equal 100. So yes, I do have a right triangle. This one is a right triangle. Okay. I'm going to have to try to pause this a minute. Yeah, it's on your desk. Yeah, okay. All right. So on number 5, again, here's the biggest. So I know that's going to be my c squared. I don't care if you make this a or this b because you got addition and it. Order doesn't count in addition. And I'm just looking for a yes or no. It doesn't matter that these are decimals. You're still going to do the same thing. 6.4 squared is 4096 plus 12 squared is 144 and 12.2 squared 148.84. So if I have 40 and 44, that's going to be 184.96. So that does not equal, right? So my answer there is going to be no. No, I do not have a right triangle. These three sides do not make a right triangle. All right, pause the video, do problems 2, 4, and 6, and then come back and we're going to start with problem 7. All right, 7 has a missing side, and it counts what side is missing. If it's the hypotenuse, you're going to add. If it's the longest side, the side opposite of the right triangle, you're going to add. So we're going to take our numbers and square them. 4 squared, 8 squared, 16, 64 equals c squared. So that gives me 74 and 80. And this is where you're going to take the square root of both sides. Now, if you remember our square numbers, 1 times 1, 2 times 2, so 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. 80 is not one of our square numbers. So here's where I'm going to get the calculator, and I'm going to plug that in. If you look at your calculator, you're going to use your second button and come down to the x squared button. So it's going to be second, and then you're looking for the x squared, and right above it you see that square root symbol. So I have the square root of 80. If I plug that into my calculator, I'm going to get approximately 8.9. So C is approximately, you're rounding to that tenth, 8.9. Okay? Again, I have the two legs because they make up that right triangle. The two legs create this right angle right here. So I know I have 7 squared plus 10 squared equals c squared. So 49 plus 100 equals c squared. Square them. Now we're adding them. 149 equals c squared. Take the square root of both sides. Again, 149 is not one of my square numbers. 49 is, 100 is, but when you add it together, it's not. It's awful close to 144, so it would be 12. You should look at the calculator and be getting approximately 12. Come on. 0.2. And remember, we're going to use that squiggle line for approximately. Okay? All right, one more of these. 7 squared plus 2 squared. I'm adding because those two sides create the legs. So 49 plus 4 equals c squared. So that's 53 equals c squared. Again, 53 is not one of my square numbers, so I'm going to use my calculator and get that square root. And that's going to give me about 7.3, approximately. Oh, I wish my pen was working. All right, 13. I'm going to jump to 15 because 15 is different. See how on 15 I have the number that's across? I don't have the two legs. I do not have the two sides that create this right angle. I have the number that's sitting across. So that's different. That's when I have the hypotenuse and I have to go backwards. So when I have to go backwards, instead of adding, I'm going to subtract. So So I have 7.4 squared minus 3.6 squared. The hypotenuse squared minus the leg squared equals a squared or b squared. It doesn't matter. 7.4 times 7.4, 54, 76, minus 3.6 times 3.6, 12.96 equals a squared. All right, when I subtract them, I'm getting 41.8 equals a squared. Remember when we are estimating, 6 squared would give me 36, 7 squared would give me 49. So this is going to be somewhere in the middle. And when I put it into the calculator, I get approximately 6.5. Again, when you're looking at the calculator, you're going to use the green second button right underneath the screen on the left-hand side, and then you're going to come straight down, and you're going to look at the x squared button, and right above the x squared, you see in green, you see that square root symbol. That's how I'm getting these numbers, these approximate numbers on the calculator. All right, again, when it is a side that is opposite of the right angle, that means that's telling you this is the hypotenuse, and you're going to subtract. So I have 9.9 squared minus 6.5 squared equals a squared. 9.9 squared is 98. And that makes sense, doesn't it? That it should be right. Not 9.8, right under 100. This pen is making me crazy. All right, 98.01 minus 42.25. Where am I getting that 42.25, guys? 6.5 times 6.5. All right, when I subtract, I get 55.76. That is a squared. I don't want a squared, I want a. So the square root of 55.76 is approximately 7.5. And I'm using that calculator to get that. All right, 19. What do you think we're going to do on 19? Should we add or subtract? There's my right angle. I have one side of the right angle. I have the other side of the right angle. So that means I have the two legs. When I have the two legs, I'm going to add. So 9.2 squared plus 5.2 squared equals c squared. That's my hypotenuse. So 5.2 or 9.2 is 84. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because 9 times 9 is 81. So 9.2 shouldn't be very much bigger than the 81. 8464 plus, this is going to be around 25 because 5 times 5 is 25. So that's going to be 27.4. And again, we're going to add these because that's the two legs, and that's going to give me 111.68 square root. Approximately, what square root number is close? It's either going to be between 10 and 11. So I'm going to say 10.6. All right, 5.3 and 7.2. Here's that right angle. I'm missing a leg. I have the number that is opposite. So that's telling me Add or subtract? Subtract. So I'm going to do 7.2 squared minus 5.3 squared. So 7.2, 7 squared is 49, so 7.2 isn't going to be much farther than that. So we're going to have 5184 minus 28. And when I subtract it, I'm going to get 2375. And I'm going to take that square root, and it's going to be approximately 4.9. Right? All right, so you make sure that you do all of the evens, turn it into the box, and then you have Pythagoras lessons in Moby Max. So that's what you've got for the rest of the day. Okay, guys.